and welcome to another episode of the Power Half Hour Unstoppable Business Owner. I'm your host and owner of Unstoppable Overcomers Productions, where we allow you to share your stories, give you platforms in several different areas to do that, get your business seen and heard to the masses, and help you in any way with your social media. With that, though, I would have the distinct honor to bring to the screen Sabrina Gettler. Welcome to the show, Sabrina. How are you?
Hi there. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. How are you doing?
Absolutely. I'm awesome. And this is the first time I've actually just brought someone on without pre-interviewing them. So I'm trusting our mutual
Okay.
friend Kimberly. So
Okay. Sounds good.
no pressure. I know
No
anybody
pressure.
Kimberly brings to me is awesome. So I'm sure she's listening. So shout out to Kimberly Genovese right now. She's our roving reporter on the Unstoppable Overcomer show. For those of you that don't know who she is, but we're here to talk about Sabrina. And Sabrina, I've never really heard about your company before. But before we get into your company, tell us a little bit about yourself because I want people to know who you are. And there we go. I want people to know who you are, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Sounds good. So actually out of college back in 2008, I met Kimberly. She worked for Keller Williams and I wanted to get into real estate. So 2008 was not a great time in the market to get a job. So going to real estate. So that's how I met her. She was my mentor. Did that for a little bit. Then I got into mortgages. Did that for about a year. Tough time to do mortgages. So I went into the commercial side, or I take that back. I went back into being a realtor, um, and I just wanted to do something in commercial, the numbers, less emotion with the properties, and a little bit more challenging. So I have backgrounds in finance and sports management. So I got into the note business, created a business, and bought non-performing notes from commercial bankers. Had a couple investors, and we went in and bought commercial notes doing that. Um, Once the market turned around, I got into commercial finance, worked for LMI Capital, which was a mortgage broker out of Houston, and then I went to work for CBRE as a senior portfolio analyst. So um, that was corporate lifestyle. Didn't care for that. So then miraculously, one of my business partners referred me to CSSI, which is cost segregation. And after 10 years of being in real estate, I'm like, how have I never heard about cost seg? Like, it's too good to be true. And as most people know, there's a lot of too good to be trues in real estate. Um, and I discovered some of that in my 10 years of working in real estate. So I learned about the business, talked to a rep who was my mentor there, and decided to get started in 2019. And it's been great so far. So.
Awesome. I just want to give a shout out to April. Welcome, April. So it's funny because you said something about sports before. So what were you doing with that?
Yeah, so I actually worked. I always wanted to work for a baseball team. Baseball's always been my passion. But out of college, I couldn't find a job in baseball, so that's when I got into real estate. However, in about 2014, I had the opportunity to work part time for the Houston Astros.
Woohoo.
So I took that job in spring training, and then I decided to move to Houston um, and work part time during the season. So
Right. That's exciting. I don't think I've ever, well, yes, I have. I met the coach for um, the Cardinals. So I can't say that I haven't met somebody that close. And I've met football players. So never mind. Forget that even said that. So back to you. Cost segregation. So tell us what that is. Because I mean, you say these words and I'm like, I blank out. So tell us what that is. And
that's
I'm
okay.
sure a lot
That's
of people
most
do.
people do. Most people do. It's okay. And having been in real estate for 10 years and not having ever heard of it, it was kind of mind blowing to me. So, what cost segregation is, well, let me back up. So when you buy a property, a commercial or residential rental property, you have to report a depreciation schedule to the IRS. So normally CPA would put the building value and land value on a depreciation schedule and depreciate it equally over 39 years for commercial or 27 and a half for residential. Um, so what cost segregation is we'll do studies, they're engineering-based studies where we analyze up to 100 building components that are really in an earlier depreciation life. So we'll categorize building components in 5, 7, 15 year, and then 39 or 27 and a half. So it's essentially accelerating the depreciation and taking the depreciation sooner rather than later. The dollar today is worth a lot more than a dollar will be in 39 years. So the goal is to get more money back in our clients' pockets, to use that money to reinvest, or to use however they choose for their business, rather than having the IRS, take their money.
So people must love you when they come to you and say, hey, wait a minute, if we do this, and this, then we can save you this much money. Like, people must just love hearing from you.
Yeah, and that's why I love what I do. It's a win-win-win all the way around. So on average, our clients save about 20, or we find about 20 to 30% of the property in an earlier life, save about 70,000 per million in building cost. So it's pretty fun. And then you can see them take that money and reinvest it into other properties and just keep growing their portfolio year after year. So
right. Wow. That I'm just wrapping my head around this, because as a book, I've been in bookkeeping for all my life, basically, or it feels that way. And trying to get a depreciation of everything like that, but then taking that all around and say, wait a minute, if you do it this way. Now, is this just a US thing, or can people in Canada do this as well?
if they own properties in the US and they're paying US tax dollars, then they can do it.
So the Canadian government hasn't come onto this yet, then.
Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure
Just
how
curious.
how
Just
the
curious.
taxes are in Canada, or Canada.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
uh,
Cool. So that's awesome. So what three things would you say that you've overcome to get to where you're at in business today?
in general,
Mm-hmm.
oh boy, um, that's a good question. So I had a lot of ups and downs in my real estate career. I had business partners that I would do the work and decided that they needed the money more than I did. So a couple business partners, took money and ran. So that was a lot of mental anguish, I guess you can say. So just the mindset coming out of hard times and
Mm-hmm.
really focusing on what I wanted and what I wanted long term and the lifestyle I wanted, and just having a positive mindset even in some of the worst times kind of will
Right.
bring those opportunities to you.
Right.
You just got to keep plugging along because it's not easy out there. But eventually, hard work will pay off.
In Karma, Taylor Swift's
Yes.
song "Karma" comes around. Like it doesn't matter if relating that to business or relationships or whatever. Like it
Yes.
that person will eventually feel the pinch
Yes.
of that.
Absolutely. And for one of them, it didn't take too long for him to feel that pinch. So it's like, yeah, I don't feel too bad. But I mean, don't ever want to see anything bad happen to people, but
Right.
it's okay.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, and another thought I always had was like failure is not an option. Having bounced around the real estate industry, like I said, I did mortgages. I was a residential realtor. Actually got my commercial broker's license. Did commercial finance, commercial underwriting, the note business. I was in seminar business for a while. When one door closes, another one opens. So it's just you can't give up.
Right. No, absolutely. I always figure there's a reason why something didn't work out. So don't get too upset about it. Right. You can have your moment of like, what the heck just happened here? But then ultimately, bigger and better things come along, anyways. Is
100%.
general.
And sometimes it may not be right away. It may be a couple of years down the road, but looking back, it's like, that's why that had to happen.
Absolutely.
So
So you spend some time in Texas and some of your time in Florida. So does that mean that anybody that's working with commercial real estate anywhere in the United States, you can service them?
yes, so I work from home. Our home office is in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and there's over 200 reps that work for the company. So working from home allows me to travel and meet with clients, do site photos. I live half the year in West Palm Beach, Florida, and half the year in Houston. Um, and a big part of that was because I worked for the Astros. So I don't anymore, but it gives me more time to work in the business and meet with people and help them and work nationwide. So yeah, got clients
Uh,
all over the country.
Awesome. And so do you still do the real estate transaction, or are you just strictly focused now on the cost segregation?
I'm strictly focused on the cost seg.
Okay, cool. And so for those of people that are listening right now, is there more a property that would be better for this, or just any commercial property?
Any commercial property, hotels, retail centers, office buildings, multifamily apartments, even single family homes that are Airbnb or long-term rental, warehouse, literally anything that's been purchased and would have a depreciation schedule. We can do mobile home parks, RV parks, golf courses, stadiums. There's nothing really that we can't work with. So,
Cool. So the
the
Astro Stadium should take a look at this.
yes, I talked to them a while back about it, but they had already taken those tax advantages, and there was some stuff with the city that disallowed them from doing that. But
Right.
yeah,
Well, I hear
that's
The Chiefs are having problems with their stadium, so maybe they should take a look at this and get help.
yeah,
Maybe because they need to do so many repairs.
renovations.
So
Uh,
yeah, taking a look
yeah,
at this and then putting that money back into the stadium to fix it,
yeah, and
or purchasing a new location.
so that's another thing we work with too, our renovations. So if a building owner buys a property, say an apartment building, we can do the cost seg on that. Say in a year or two or five down the road, for example, we'll put $100,000 in renovations in. So we can do the cost seg on the new assets going into the building. But we can also do what's called a PAD, or partial asset disposition, which everything taken out, the IRS allows you to take a value on those disposed of assets. It's also considered cash for your trash. So that's a use it or lose it. If you don't take that benefit in the tax year that the property's put back in service, you lose it. So a lot of people don't know about that. They're doing renovations and they're missing out on a huge tax benefit there. Um, so yeah, we like to work with the clients in any kind of tenant improvements in general, repairs. We also include building systems and components breakdown with our reports, that will help the CPA and the client line everything out. So if there are repairs, it would look at the overall value of the system, and if it's 33% or less of the overall value, then they can expense those repairs. If it's more than that, then they have to capitalize it. So a lot of CPAs will use that report just to line everything up.
Hmm. So I'm thinking, because we have different facilities among the U.S. where I work in my day job, and so but it is Canadian owned. Um, so I'm just thinking how that would Canadian. Let's put it this way: head offices is in Canada. The facilities are across Texas and Georgia. Would there be some kind of benefit for that kind of facility, like for that kind of ownership? I'm
It
just
depends if those buildings are in ownership. Like, are they paying US taxes on it? I would
Yeah,
assume so. Then
yeah.
I would assume.
Interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
I will see if I can throw some business your way.
There you go. That
Oh
sounds good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so, ideally, what's the best? Like, who is?
Ideal
Let's
candidate.
put it this way: the best client out there that typically that you could do benefit the most from your services.
Yeah, so we typically say any commercial or residential rental that's been owned 15 years or less, for a purchase price of $200,000 or more. So it's pretty wide range. If it's less than 200,000, we can still, like, we'll run a free estimate, but sometimes the number is too small. You can't squeeze enough benefit out of it for the fee of the study. So um, we usually say 200,000 and up. So we can go up to, multi-million dollar projects. We've done a couple portfolios that are $1 billion in portfolio assets. So there's really no size limit that we can't handle.
Right.
But,
So nothing below 200,000, because it
mhm.
it would be a waste of both your times, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
like I said, happy to run the numbers, but we have to take out the land value since the cost basis is just the building value because land is not depreciable. So we'll take the purchase price less land value and look at that cost basis plus any
Okay.
renovations or improvements.
And so if you were to talk to like and property investor who has several properties, that would definitely be like they can get it from for every property that they owned, or just a collective
Mm-hmm.
together.
Now, a report is done for each property, each address. And
Right.
when a new owner takes ownership, they have to do a study on that and
Right.
reset the depreciation schedule. So, say a client owns 10 different properties, they would do 10 different studies. And then they can input that into their returns. Now, another thing that's kind of cool is with the cost segregation, you can take the benefit against the income of the property, right? So, say the NOI on a property is 100,000 and the extra depreciation expense that we find is 50,000. 100,000 minus 50,000, you're paying taxes on 50,000 instead of 100,000. If you're a qualified real estate professional, so that means 750 hours or more working in real estate, there's a couple qualifications that people have to meet to do that, but they could take that $50,000 in expense and say their property is only making 20,000. They can either carry it forward until it's fully absorbed, or if they are a qualified real estate professional, they can take that extra benefit against the income, business income or W-2 income if the spouse is filing jointly. So it's a really powerful tool to use to offset business income if they are a qualified real estate professional.
Right. Wow. All this amazing information, and I'm sure not a lot of people know about it. So thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom here, because I know
You're
that
welcome.
everybody's, especially with the way things are, people are always looking for extra money, right? So how
Sure.
can you basically take something that they already have and give added value back to them,
Right.
and
Right.
saving money in their pocket, right? So it's a win-win
Yeah.
situation.
Yep.
So wow.
We always
I
say
don't know.
the IRS is not our favorite charity. So if we can find a way to get that bottom line number that you're paying taxes on down, um, to reinvest that money, you can do a lot more with your money than government can.
Right. Oh, 100%. And the less money, the less money you have to shell out, you're happy. The government may not be
Absolutely.
happy, but
Yeah.
so people just must like send you Christmas cards and gifts every year once they say, "Hey, wait a minute, you just saved them 70 to $100,000 or more per year."
Yeah,
You're like
they're pretty
Santa
happy.
Claus.
Exactly, exactly. I try to be, and they send the referrals and all their friends, so it's been good. Business has grown pretty quick in the past couple of years. I've only been doing this since 2019, but it's been a lot of fun just meeting people and helping people. It's not a hard sale, I show them the numbers and the return, and I price it conservatively. Still working on building up the relationships and just working for people. So um,
Right.
yeah, and I just like to meet people and help them. So it's super fun.
Right. And so does your firm then just charge like a flat fee, or is it a percentage of what you can get them back?
It's just a flat fee. So our minimum is around 3,000, unless it's a really small deal. Um, but anywhere from about 3 to 20,000. But 20,000, I mean, I've done hotels for 20 million, and we've kept the fee under 10 grand. So the return is quite substantial. Um, yeah, I have a couple notes here. I did let's see, an $18 million hotel. Straight Line was spitting off about 207,000 in depreciation expense. And once they finished with our study, they ended up with about 4.2 million in extra depreciation expense.
Holy shitballs.
Yeah, and that fee was only like 10 grand. So you're paying 10 grand to get 4.2 million in extra, depreciation expense. It's a really powerful tool.
I'd be like, if anybody is listening to this right now, oh, I know there are people watching, but for those of you that are on the replay that had just heard this, like that's mind boggling that you saved them over $4 million and only a $10,000 fee for that. Like it would be a no brainer to even at least look at this.
Yeah. Well, it's $4 million
Wow.
in depreciation expense. So they can take that as an expense, but
Right.
still, that's a huge
Still,
number for people.
right. Yeah. Of course, because if you have more expenses, if your income's up, well, that's more money in your pocket. Either way, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
So,
And if they're a qualified real estate professional and they're making, substantial amount in their businesses, I mean, there's potential that you can be paying have no tax bill.
So that means more money in the pocket, anyways.
Yep, exactly, exactly. It is more money in their pocket. It's just kind of like in a roundabout way, but
Right. Yeah, I guess because I said money like 4 million in their pocket, which it is, but it's funneled through a different way. I guess
yeah,
I'm used
yeah,
to. I work with numbers all day, so to me that part made sense. So
exactly.
I got excited there for a minute. Not that I like
I
doing
know.
depreciation in the company. That's what the
Exactly.
CPA
Exactly.
is for.
Yes.
Just want to give a shout out to Inger. Welcome, Inger. Thanks for joining us. Um, Inger, if you know of anybody that is in that owns real estate property, commercial real estate property in the United States, we need to hook them up with Sabrina here because I'm telling you, we'll be their BFFs forever. She's a Canadian, that's why I said that.
Nice.
So yeah, and she's heavily
Sounds cool.
connected. She's our networking ninja. So
Very cool.
yeah,
Cool.
but
Yeah, would love
wow.
to, can do the free estimates and run numbers and just see if we can help people. So,
Right. I love that. So so is the hotel one of the, I'm not going to say best clients, but one of the clients that you've saved the most money for?
yeah, hotels are usually pretty good. Apartment buildings, actually self-storage has really, really good results. RV parks. So when we break it down into the 5, 7, and 15 year, um, so items like carpet, lights, paint, wood trim, cabinetry, that's all 5, 5 and 7 year property. And then things like landscaping, signage, deck, down to the striping on parking lot, that's 15. And then the longer life is like HVAC, roof, plumbing, electrical, structural items will stay on the longer schedule. So when you have a self-storage building, for example, that's maybe built with, shedding or, depending on metal buildings, sometimes that can all be 15-year life. The
Mhm.
gates, the security system, that's all 15. So anything found in 5, 7, 15 is eligible for the 100% or the bonus depreciation. It used to be 100%. So 100% bonus depreciation started September 28, 2017 and went through 2022. The start of 23, it decreased from 100% to 80%. And then in 24, it drops 60%. They are trying to pass 100% bonus again retroactively for 23 and 24 in Congress, but it hasn't been passed yet. So that just means anything we find in 5, 7, 15 years can be taken at that 100% in year one or 80% in year one, and then the rest of it carried forward.
Wow. That is mind blowing. Mind blowing.
Yeah,
You said something about storage. How does that work with the storage? I didn't even think of storage units.
yeah. So there's a lot of security systems, the gates, if they have gravel road or pavement, parking lots.
Mhm.
I've done some of the buildings where they're like removable, so that's considered 15 year. If it's climate controlled, yeah, self storage has really good numbers.
Oh, that's interesting because again, when Kimberly asked me, "Who do you know that has commercial real estate?" I didn't think of storage units.
Mm,
Interesting,
any kind of property. If there's an improvement on the land, it's most likely we can work with that.
right?
I mean,
Mhm.
even like the industry buildings or warehouses that are shells, usually it's a lower number, benefit that they take, but if there's office in there, that'll increase the number. Uh, they still have lights and doors, parking
Right,
lots. They still have something that we can find.
right. So basically, bottom line, if you own commercial property in the United States of America, you should be talking to Sabrina here, so she can definitely, go over what kind of tax incentives that she can get you. Um, get money back in your pocket at the end of the day, basically. If you're just tuning in now, she just talked about somebody who got like for over $4 million back in depreciation back into their pocket into their company. So definitely definitely something you want to at least consider looking at. And where is the best place for them to get a hold of you, Sabrina?
They could, shoot me an email. It's info@costsegtaxsavers.com. And I see you have the website scroll in there. So on the website, there's a form. You can click free estimate and fill out that form to get a free estimate. I also have the number on there, or email.
Perfect.
Anything that goes to their website comes straight to me. So
Cool. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. It's,
you bet.
something that we could definitely help our viewers with here. So appreciate you coming on, sharing your passion. You can definitely tell you're passionate about it. And thank you to our listeners for joining us today. We appreciate you. Is there any last words before we wrap this up today?
Just thank you for having me. And if I can help answer any questions, or if people just want more, information or just to learn more about it, I'm happy to help. Like big part of my job is educating. A lot of CPAs, actually, a lot of people will be like, why didn't my CPA tell me about this? A lot of them just file the tax returns and they're just not familiar. So a big part of my job is just helping to educate CPAs and tax planners and clients and how this works with the tax code.
Right.
So yeah. So I
Love
appreciate
it.
it.
I was going to say, does any CPA come back to you after the fact, like after your client says, "Well, why didn't my CPA do this?" Because I'm sure they go back to their CPA and have a discussion with them. Has anybody come back?
All the time. It happens all the time. And oftentimes I have people asking me for a CPA that has heard of this or knows what to do because their CPA never recommended it and they've lost a lot of money over the years. So, um, I don't blame the CPA because a lot of times that's just not their specialty. But yeah, I have people that aren't necessarily super happy with their CPAs. I'm like, well, let's get them on a call and just explain it to them and help walk them through this. So
Right.
it's always a fun
Yeah.
conversation.
As somebody that's on the other side that has been in the numbers game forever, I could just imagine, I don't have the qualifications of a CPA, but I mean, I didn't know anything about this either. But
Yeah.
good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So it's good.
hopefully,
It's good to have the business owners, savvy about their businesses and tax strategies to use to kind of walk the CPA through and say, hey, this is what we're looking to do. Talk to this person and see how we can make it work. So most of the time they're pretty receptive of that. They have to do what their client tells them because after all, they are working for that real
right,
estate owner.
right. Well, I'm just thinking, like every CPA that I know that's listening to this, or that I know, I should send a copy of this to them and say, hey, wait a minute, if you want to get your client happy with you, number one, go have a conversation with Sabrina and see if she can help your client. And then that way they look like a freaking rock star too. And then it's a win-win
Exactly.
situation for everybody.
Exactly. Yep. And so a lot of times I'll market to them and say, tax planner or CPA or even commercial brokers and say, we can be your back office cost seg department, your personalized back office and, add value to their business to help their
Right.
clients because it makes them look good if they can recommend this and they're already a couple steps ahead of the game. So their clients are, extremely happy that
Right.
they're recommending something, that a lot of people don't know about.
Okay. Remind me, I'm going to connect you with, I know a CPA out in Florida, actually. I will
Okay.
connect you to after the show,
Okay.
because I'm not saying she doesn't know what you're doing, but at least it's a conversation,
Yeah.
that, like you said, it's a feather in her cap for her
Yeah.
knowing this information, and bringing you to her clients. So
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Now, see, you got the
All
wheels
right.
turning. Now I can see why Kimberly
Yeah.
connected us together. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
awesome. Again, thank you so
we'll see
much.
how. You betcha. Thank you too.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to today's sponsor of the show, which is the Kimbra. If you're looking to get more time, money, or resources into your schedule, you definitely want to check them out at thekimbra.com. Tell them Dorothy sent you, and we thank you. And don't forget to be unstoppable in all that you do. And same time, same channel next week. Bye for now.